Let's start with some review. You may remember that inequalities are similar. You graph them similar to linear equations. The y-intercept here is 0. So we're going to put our first point down at 0. We're going to use the slope to move to the next point. 2 down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over. Now this is where it gets a little trickier. This one says that it is, and I'll circle this, greater than or equal to. So the line is going to be solid. We're going to put our finger on the line, and since it's greater than, we're going to shade up. Let's try the next one. We're going to put our first point down at the y-intercept, plus 1. Use the slope to move to a second point, 1, 2, 3, up, 2, over. This one is less than, so the line is dashed. And since it's less than, if you put your finger on the line, you're going to shade down. So we're going to shade everything below the line. And you can always use Desmos to check your equations. So especially with the shading, we can see the first point here is at 0, 1. And we go 1, 2, 3 up and 2 over, and that's where the next point is. So does it match the picture we drew? Yes. So if they're not in y equals mx plus b form, you can solve for y. This makes a 0 pair, and we're left as y is less than or equal to negative x plus 3. You're going to put your first point at 3. And your next point in 1 down, 1 over, 1 down, 1 over. It was less than or equal to, so it's a solid line. And since it's less than, we're shading down. Double check with Desmos. And when you do that, both the original inequality and the inequality solved for y should match the graph that you created. Last one, we're going to subtract x from both sides. That makes a 0 pair. You're left with 3y is less than negative x plus 6. Divide everything by 3. We're not dividing it by any negatives, so we're not switching any signs. That makes a 1 pair. You're left with y is less than negative 1 over 3, x plus 2. We're going to put our first point down at 2, our next point at 1 down and 3 over. It's less than, so it will be a dashed line. It's not equal to. And because it's less than, we're shading under. Let's double check our work with Desmos. So both the original equation and the equation where inequality, both the original inequality and the inequality where we solve for y should be identical to the graph that you drew, and it is. Thanks.